G'day and welcome to Mark and Sam After Work. Today I've got another scope to show you. The guys from TRACT has sent me another scope, or called me up and said they have this new little scope that's got some pretty nice little features on it, but would I like to have a look at it? And I said yes, and that's particularly because it's got a feature which really been hoping comes out in the market, and there's a few places that have tried. This has done it about as good as I've seen, but that is the amount of internal elevation it's got in a normal scope. And to some degree or another, some of the features that it doesn't have, which also make it really suitable for what I think is a great idea. Anyway, I'll put the box away so that it's not in front of me anymore. I just wanted to show you what the box it came in. It has all the normal bits and pieces, from a sunshade to there's a zero stop ring that it has inside this thing. It has some fairly simple little scope covers, dust caps, and I think there's a couple other features in there as well. But listen, really, in that sort of stuff, I'm not doing the unboxing thing. I just want to talk about this scope and what it really is. Now, it's a 4 to 25, so 5 to 25 is probably what I feel is probably the perfect sort of bracket of things. The 425 is just a little bit more than that. And I suppose what I'm really saying with that, it isn't trying to be more by 30 or 35 or 40 or more power. More power isn't really a benefit past the 25. You sort of use it if it's there, but 25 works fine to shoot as far as you want to shoot, in truth, in ELR particularly. The 50mm objective, okay, so normally a 56, but I've never found any negative to a 50mm objective set up in a scope for ELR shooting. We're not trying to shoot in the late evening or that sort of stuff. We're generally in bright days, that sort of thing. But even the 50 does a pretty damn good job. It's not like 40 or 30 or that sort of stuff in the hunting optics. So it's still got decent side there. It's a moderately short scope. I should take the sunshade off so you can see what it is. It's a moderately short scope, but a 34mm tube. So for that side of things, it's got this extra feature of, now I've actually got, and the reason I looked at it, this one's in MOA, they do them in mil. It is a first focal plane scope. Like I said, 4 to 25. It's got all the normal bits and pieces, and I suppose I should also point out that I have used one of these scopes and been using it a lot. Not this scope, but the last one the TRACT sent to us, which is the 4.5 to 30 in very similar scope, but it's the 56mm objective. Great scope. I think we've got, and I've forgotten exactly, around the 100 minutes of elevation, internal elevation, that one there. We use that scope a lot more than you get to see. We've used it on all sorts of things, in the long range stuff as well, in various points. But it's also the one that is sitting on top of the 22 rifle, the CZ 22 rifle, which was seen last time when we were doing a comparison, or sort of a bit of a comparison thing along with the Bulgara. That's that the TRACT scope sits on there, and that we do a lot of work with it. So we're always plinking our 300 to, or 100 to 300 rounds each sort of thing that we do on a weekend, just playing with the 22 side of things, is all done with the TRACT scope. So we're very familiar with them. But getting back on with this. This one has, and I've checked it properly, but it has 150 minutes of internal elevation. In actual fact, checking it really thoroughly, and I've got some footage here, I went from minimum to maximum, and I actually found there's 170 minutes of adjustable elevation in here. 170 minutes. Caveat to that, when you go that last 10, so the bottom 10 and the top 10, it loses a little bit of clarity. Now, to explain something here as to how this all works, when you are adjusting your erector tube in the middle of here, which essentially adjusts where you're looking at. So it adjusts you looking at your reticle, looking at a different place by dialing up and down on your turrets. This also has 30 minutes either direction for the windage. So being a shorter scope, smaller objective, large tube, being the 34mm tube, it then ends up where it has some more adjustments. So that's a really good feature. But what I want to point out, I've seen this before. I've seen a few scopes before, more than 3 scopes that I've looked through, that claim 150 minutes of internal elevation. But when you actually get there, the last bit of their range, and really they are scopes that have all had around 120 minutes of elevation. Although they can adjust further, they lose too much clarity, so you really can't get a clear picture anymore. You sort of can use them, but you lose your clarity of your picture. This one here did the same thing, but that was going to 170 minutes. From what I've tested so far in the 150 minutes, so 10 up from the absolute bottom and 10 down from the absolute top, that 150 minutes there was clear. It looked good. I'm not going to say it's perfect yet. It's pushing the boundaries. And I suppose what I started to tell you about is that erector tube, it essentially moves to where you're moving through different parts of the lens. Now, optical center is obviously the perfect place to look, but your lenses, depending on the shape of the lens, have a certain area. Their optical center isn't just the smallest focal point. The optical center where that lens works good is a certain size. So if you go outside that, where it is the best quality, you end up looking to another part of the lens, which you end up with some distortion, and you basically start to get a blurry image. So by having this scope with only a 50mm objective, 34mm tube, and the lenses they've chosen to run in this thing, then I won't talk outside of I'm not a scope engineer, I can't tell you more than that, but I can tell you that, and I've got the footage here to show you, that from, like I said, that middle 150 minutes of elevation, this really worked well. So you could, from looking at this, pushing the boundaries, and you get run out of a slight bit of quality, you could actually zero and get 170 minutes of internal elevation. So that's a bit close to groundbreaking. Works really nicely. I've got to do some more images, hopefully on this video here. It looked really good so far. I'm really happy with it. It's first focal plane. I sort of prefer second focal plane, but listen, it's not bad. First focal plane still works really well. It's fairly clean. It has a little bit of a light Christmas tree reticle to it, but it's still decent for what we're sort of chasing on that sort of stuff. MOA, they do them in mil as well. And I suppose it's a little bit to that same degree of, by actually not trying, and I'm fairly certain if they'd gone to where this is trying to push to the 30 power or the 35 power or something like that, then you're not going to get the same clarity once you start to, and that's about using more of your lens to do those sort of power increases. Is largely what I've put it down to. By actually coming back to, in that it's a 4 to 25, but coming back to that sort of comfortable zone there, building everything nice with a big tube, coming back down to a 50mm objective on the front of it, we've ended up with a really lots of internal elevation. So, and from what TRACT is, they are a quality optic, but they're certainly not in the top of the price range. They are certainly price rise, and you have to check out your area, but very well priced. And that comes with a pair of guys over there at TRACT that put a lot of effort into supporting their customer base and doing what they can for their customers. So with great customer service, a good pair of guys, a scope that has that sort of internal elevation, plus all the normal features that you're going to find, which are definitely up there in the top level of the quality of what they do, from their audibility of the clicks to, they have I suppose the lift up, put down of the caps is something that I'm not that familiar with, but you get used to it really quickly. There's a nice little pattern, a little dial up on the side here, so you can see how far you've dialed up, which, as you've got several rotations, you've got to keep a track on all that sort of stuff. There is zero stop feature that you can put into this. All the bits and pieces, nice and easy to use. I think it's a really good ELR option. It obviously would do other things as well, but with that internal elevation, it turns into a really good ELR option. Anyway guys, that's my quick one. I will use it some more. We haven't got bright sun out there at the moment, so I'm getting it out, using it, that sort of stuff is all going to be later in the year, but I really wanted to get it and show you because I think it's a really good option. The guys have done a really good job. Anyway guys, thank you very much for checking in. We'll catch you next time.